Alright, what is up everybody? This is Alex once again with another episode of the EOT Newsflash. This is going to be the red cards for our Kaladesh Limited set review. We've already done the white, the blue, and the black, so we're going to be moving right along to the color pie. As always, we are on a 4-point scale. The 1s are the cards you'll never play, the 2s are your filler, 3s are your premium, 4 are your bombs that pull you into the color that you want to be playing. And without further any delay, let's just jump right into the red cards. The super aggressive, gremlin-filled wackiness that is red, because the red cards are kind of, I think, are pretty cool in this set. And the first one is Aether Torch Renegade, 2 in a red, human rogue, enters the battlefield, and you get 4 energy. You may tap it and pay 2 to deal 1 damage to a target creature, or tap it and pay 6. Wait, nope. That's 8. 8 energy to deal 6 damage to target player. It's a 1/2. I give this thing a 2.5 because there's a lot of ways to generate energy in this set. It's everywhere in every color. And if this thing goes unchecked, this is dangerous. If you've been kind of, chip-shotting your opponent and, just dealing regular combat damage and then bring this thing down and they're just thinking, oh crap, the thing's going to kill me in not a lot of time. So very, very cool card. I like that a lot. The design's really neat. Solid 2.5 for me. Next one is Brazen Scourge, 1 red. It's a gremlin. I don't think we've ever had gremlins in Magic before, so this is the first one, at least for me. 3/3 with haste. Beats real good. It's a 3. The 3/3 gets a 3. The only difficulty I can see with this one, especially in your more aggressive decks, is the double red in the casting cost. Just hitting that on turn 3 reliably might be kind of difficult, but if you can, I can't think of a much better way to spend 3 mana in this set. It's just a great way to kind of get going to start bringing the beats. Next one we've got is a Built to Smash. So we have Built to Smash and Built to Last. That's funny. 1 red instant. Target attacking creature gets +3/+3 until the end of turn. If it's an artifact creature, it gains trample until the end of turn. So if you've got some servos lying around or any of the multitude of artifact creatures we'll get to very, very soon in the set review, it's going to get a big power boost and a trample damage to get through, probably trade up with the creature that's blocking it. Real solid combat trick. Still, I'm never been a huge fan of combat tricks just because in some cases they're kind of conditional like this one is. So I give it a 2. It's a decent curve filler as far as your combat tricks go. Next one we have is Cathartic Reunion, and if you thought that Lost Legacy hit in the feels, this one's just a ugh. Because we find out in the set that Chandra's mother, Pia, is still alive. And they have a sad reunion. 1 in a red sorcery as additional cost to cast Cathartic Reunion, discard 2 cards, and draw 3 cards. That discarding is a huge problem. I don't know if this is something you want to be playing in your limited games unless you've got a hand flush with lands. At that point, I can see tossing on some way to get some value back out of this card. But you're not. I don't know. This is a tricky one as well. Definitely playable in older formats. Modern Dredge is going to love this one especially. But I don't know if I'd gravitate towards this for limited play unless, like I said, you have a hand flush with lands. And at that point, you consider playing that. But as it stands, I give it almost a 2. Just a little bit less. First Planeswalker. Man, sweet. Chandra, Torch of Defiance is a 2 red Planeswalker. Comes in with 4 loyalty. +1 allows you to exile the top card of your library. You may cast that card. If you don't, Chandra, Torch of Defiance deals 2 damage to each opponent. You may also +1 and add 2 red mana to your pool. -3, and she deals 4 damage to target creature, and her -7 reads you get an emblem whenever you cast a spell. This emblem deals 5 damage to target creature or player. Best red Planeswalker ever printed, bar none. This thing is absolutely a monster. 4. Not much needs to be said about Chandra right there. Chandra's Pyro Helix. Chandra gets a lot of really powerful cards that are just kind of like tied to her as a Planeswalker in this set. 1 in a red instant to deal 2 damage divided as you choose among 1 or 2 target creatures and or players. 2 X1s, they're both dead. Problem solved. Gave this one a 2.25 just because there aren't a whole lot of X1s you'll be dealing with. More often than not, this is just going to be a 2 mana shock to take out a creature. Still pretty good return rate though. Next one we have is Combustible Gearhulk. This is a 4 and 2 red 6/6 artifact creature construct, has first strike with a wall of text. Whenever it enters the battlefield, target opponent may have you draw 3 cards. If the player doesn't, put the top 3 cards of your library into your graveyard. Then Combustible Gearhulk deals damage to target player equal to the total converted mana cost of those cards. Whoa. So, for constructed purposes, this one's a lot harder to evaluate. I just don't know if it's as good as its brothers are. Just like, it's still really, really good. First strike is a huge upside to this guy. He is big. It's a good thing he doesn't have haste, because otherwise this guy turns into almost a one-shot. If the board's kind of stalled out and there's nobody blocking, you flip this guy over, they mill some stuff, they take a couple points of damage, and he just kills him in one shot. That's a thing. So I'm glad it doesn't have haste. 9 times out of 10, I would say that your opponent's going to let you mill those cards, because drawing 3 and getting a 6/6 first striker, not going to happen. So I give this guy a 4 just on pure raw power level. I mean, that's all this guy is just pure power. Next one we have is Demolish, 3 and red sorcery, destroy target artifact or land. This is a reprint from, I believe, Scars of Mirrodin. Don't play this. There are better ways to destroy artifacts in this set. Destroying lands is not relevant ever, but I can see, like, in the most narrow of cases, you absolutely having to destroy an artifact, and if this is your only way to do it, do what you do, I guess. As it stands, though, barely a 1.5. Almost unplayable. I wouldn't touch this one, honestly. Alright, next one we've got is Fateful Showdown. Now, this is a really cool story element, because we get to see Pia fighting against Tezzeret, and that's really cool as far as story locations go. Too bad the card sucks. 2 red instant, deals damage equal to a target creature or player equal to the number of cards in your hand. Discard all the cards in your hand, then draw that many cards. In Limited, I cannot condone playing this. This is pretty much a 1 right here for me. Unless your hand just sucks, and you just want to just vomit some damage at a creature or player, and then hopefully draw some new cards. Maybe, but I'm not. Nope. Not gonna touch this one. This gets a 1 for me. Maybe it's better than that. I don't know. Next one we've got Furious Reprisal. 3 and a red sorcery, deals 2 damage to each of 2 target creatures and or players. So this is effectively 2 shocks going in 2 different targets. The wording is a little bit confusing if you're not, really well versed in Magic phrasing and things like that. So 2 shocks going to 2 different targets. Solid 3 right here. Nothing better than able to shoot 2 guys down for 4 mana. Really good start. Really good removal spell here for red. Next one we have is Giant Spectacle. 1 and a red enchantment or to enchant a creature that give it +2/+1 and give it menace. I don't really like permanent-based pump spells like this. The ones that give +1/+1 counters are a little bit different, but this is just setting yourself up to get 2 for 1 essentially. If you play this and attack and they have like the blue bounce spell or a removal spell, you're getting 2 for 1, and that just feels awful. So I give this one a 2. I can see the more aggressive decks wanting this card, but for the most part, I'm going to stay away from pump spells like this. Just not a big fan of how they work. Next, we've got Harnessed Lightning. 1 and a red instant. Choose target creature. You get 3 energy. Then you may pay any amount of energy, including what you've already got stockpiled in previous turns. Harnessed Lightning deals that much damage to that creature. Pretty solid. Gave it a 3. It's a lightning strike at minimum. Could be upwards of Flame Slash or Lightning Axe, or I don't think there are any 6 damage burn spells, but you get what I'm saying here. It's good. It's good. Next one we got is Hijack. 1 red sorcery, gain control of target artifact or creature until the end of turn. Untap it. It gains haste until the end of turn. I don't like these kinds of threaten effects, to be completely honest. Only in the most aggressive red draft decks will you want to have this, but for the most part, you will, especially in limited sealed environments, you're really stuck with just taking the one big thing and crashing in and maybe trading with some other guys. But more often than not, this is not what you'll be spending your mana on. It doesn't really affect the board except for any trades that might happen, and I just don't think these kinds of cards just traditionally have not been very good without some kind of support to go in with them. So, next one we've got, Hijack gets a 1 for the time being. Next one we have is Incendiary Sabotage. This is a 2 red instant. As an additional cost to cast it, you must sacrifice an artifact, and it deals 3 damage to each creature. So this is an upgraded volcanic fallout with a little bit more increase of a cost, but not to the point where I'm not going to play this. This is a great red sweeper if you're in some kind of a red and blue control deck, perhaps. This is a great way to clean up a lot of the board because a lot of these creatures are not going to survive this effect. There aren't a whole lot of X4s in the format, mostly a lot of X3s and below. This is a great way to clean up a lot of boards, especially if you've got just some servos or some Thopters lying around. Great card. Gave it a 3. Next one is Inventor's Apprentice, aka Artifact Card Ape. 1 red human artificer. It's a 1/2 and gets +1/+1 so you have an artifact. Pretty solid in your draft decks. Curving these guys into artifacts is very good. But as I kind of mentioned with some of the black 1-drop that deals the damage whenever it attacks and you gain a life, these kinds of creatures get outclassed very quickly limited. And unless you just have the most explosive start possible and your opponent stumbles really poorly, this isn't going to get you really anywhere that you know in terms of winning the game. Keep these in your draft decks for the most part. Maybe in your sealed, but topping this in like a turn 6 is a really bad thing to do. Next one we got is the Lanthu Hellion. 2 in a red creature Hellion. 4/4 with haste. When it enters the battlefield, you get 2 red energy, or just 2 energy. And at the beginning of your instep, you sacrifice it unless you pay 2 energy. Now, this guy's actually pretty solid, I think. I gave it a 3 because it's going to be good for at least 4 points of damage and hopefully a chump block from your opponent to kill something before you have to get rid of this, or you've generated some more energy. Because you can immediately attack with it, and you pay for it for that turn. And then the next turn, you get to attack with it again. Maybe you can pay for it, maybe you can't. That's kind of the point. This thing is still good for 8 damage. So still really good card here. I think this is a solid 3. Goes great in a lot of aggressive decks. All-star in draft, I think. And if you can get some of these other red cards that generate energy, or any of the other ones that generate energy, this is going to be sticking around for a very long time and is a great target for a lot of the pump spells in this format too, I think. So I know I kind of like break my rules when I say stuff like that, but this is one of those special cases. I like this guy a lot. Solid 3. Next one we have is Madcap Experiment, and you'd have to be mad to play this spell. 3 in a red, sorcery, to reveal the top card of your library until you reveal an artifact card. Put that card on the battlefield and the rest on the bottom of your library in a random order. Madcap Experiment deals damage to you equal to the number of cards revealed this way. Now there's some modern shenanigans going on with this. Platinum Empyrean and Platinum Angel come to mind that some people have kind of built around with this thing. Don't do it in your limited decks. You're gonna whiff and hit something's useless unless you've only got like 1 artifact in your deck. But just stay away from this one, I think. Definite 0. I can't imagine a deck that wants to play this in any limited environment. Stay away from this one. Next one we've got is Maulfist Doorbuster. 3 in a red, 4/2 human warrior. In his battlefield, and you gain 2 energy. Whenever it attacks, you may pay 1 red. If you do, target creature can't block this turn. He's a 2.5 for me. Had it had haste, this thing gets really nuts. But as it is, he's going to get blocked a lot of the times. You can't pay that effect, that energy, more than once per turn, per combat, that is. And so you'll be able to stop their big guy, and it might just get chumped by a little guy, and you lose it. But flavor win here, knock too late. Super cool. I love this guy. But 2.5 for me. Next one we got is Pia Nalar. This is Chandra's mother. She's holding Kira's glasses in her hand. Like, this is just one of those other cards where you feel the emotion attached to this card. 2 in a red, a legendary creature, human artificer. It's a 2/2 that creates a 1/1 color Thopter token when it comes to the battlefield. You can pay 1 in a red to give target artifact +1/+0 till the end of turn. Pay 1 and sack an artifact. Target creature can't block this turn. She, unfortunately, is nothing compared to Pia and Kira Nalar from Origins. Just bad fire breathing, and you have to have a massive artifacts to really make her last ability worth it. And just she's really underwhelming, unfortunately. Despite the layout of the card, like I talked about on previous episode, I love the fact that there's so much of this negative space around her character in the art, and then that big blank space at the top of her name just kind of really leads to this very much isolated figure. And it just really there's a really just a very beautiful element to the design of this card in its art, not so much the card itself because it's not very good, I don't think. But that beside the point. It's a 2. It's a decent body and gets you some value, but I don't think it's going to carry games like PA and Kieran could back in them in Origins Limited, or heck, Standard for that matter, or Modern for that limit. Yeah, that card's nuts. Bring them back. Ooh, if we get like a reanimated Kieran Alar, now we're talking. All right, next one we've got is Quicksmith Genius, 2 in a red, Human Artificer, 3/2. When an artifact enters the battlefield under your control, you may discard a card, and if you do, draw a card. So it's the reverse looting, it's the rummaging effect that red typically gets to have access to quite often these days in Magic. I gave this guy a 2.25. The body isn't stellar, but for 3 mana, you can't do much better than that, I don't think, especially with an ability like this tacked on. And if you're constantly generating artifacts, whether it's servos or thopters or anything like that, you're going to be generating a lot of advantage out of this guy. So I do like this guy a lot. Maybe almost a 2.25. He's not built for rumbling. He's built for rummaging. That was awkward. Next one we've got is the Reckless Fire Weaver. 1 in a red, 1/3 Human Artificer. Whenever it enters the battlefield, an artifact that is, enters the battlefield, it deals 1 damage to each opponent. Again, these are more of these incremental advantage cards that red gets for just playing artifacts. And the incremental damage you're getting off of this guy can be really compounded over the course of an entire game. I like this guy quite a bit. I gave him, where did he go? 2.25. Thought I lost it for a second. Yeah, I can almost see this guy going a little bit higher. The body's pretty relevant as well. 1/3 for 2 mana is not bad on the return rate. As long as you've got artifacts to power this guy out, I like this guy a lot. Maybe almost close to a 2.2, maybe a 2.5 in some cases. Next one we have is Renegade Tactics. 1 red sorcery. Target creature can't block this turn. Draw a card. I don't like this one at all. I think this is pretty close to a 1 in some cases. Typically, these kind of falter effects are for 2 mana, and they grant and they make all the creatures, the opponent's creatures that don't fly, unable to block this turn, which is a really powerful one-sided effect. This, though, I'm not so sure about this one. Like, it's one guy in the way, and that's how you get through to win the game. I'm not buying that one on this one. I gave this one a 1. I don't like even the card draw doesn't save it for me. I love to draw cards. All right, next one we've got is Ruinous Gremlin. I love these little gremlins on the plane of Kaladesh. They're so evocative of, like the gremlins from the movies. Don't get them wet, otherwise, bad things happen. For 1 red, you get a 1/1 gremlin that you can sacrifice by paying 2 in a red to sacrifice it and destroy target artifact. Not great. For being a curve filler on 1, not where I want to be typically. But the artifact destruction is a little bit relevant. I can see this thing being being relegated to the sideboards, if anything. But as it stands, I just gave it a 2, just for being a decent beater in the very early game and just having a little bit of utility strapped on them towards the end of the game. Not very good, though, I don't think. Next one we have is Salivating Gremlins. It's a 2 in a red, 2/3, that whenever an artifact enters the battlefield under your control, it gets +2/+0 and trample until the end of turn. So again, redundant value from just generating artifacts in red. This guy can get a little nuts very quickly. If you have multiple entering the battlefield, that's multiple instances of this +2/+0 and trample, but you don't get double trample. Don't make that mistake. As it stands, it's a 2.5. Just being able to have servos and thopters and all the other artifacts in this set coming in the battlefield will pump this guy up, and I guarantee this is going to at least, it will never trade down, I don't think. Trading up for sure, that's going to be a great thing for this guy, especially at common. 2.5, really solid card to put in your decks. Next, we've got the obligatory dragon, because all sets need dragons. This is the Skyship Stalker. 2 red dragon with flying. It's a 3/3. You can pay 1 red to give it +1/+0 to the end of turn. You can pay red to give it first strike until the end of turn, or you can pay red and give it haste until the end of turn. It is a dragon of many talents, I say. I gave this thing, I think, yeah, I gave it a 3.5, 3.5, just because it's not, if you've got the excess mana and you top deck it, it's insane. If it's on curve, it's pretty cool. But you've got to have a minute to sink into it to make it really effective, because in some cases it could just get blocked or just killed in combat. But the first strike and the fire breathing make this thing really, really powerful. I like this guy a lot. I can see this being played in standard because it's such a good curve topper in red decks, and a great mana sink as well. And mana sinks are always good, and top end of your curve sort of creatures that fill that space. Next one we have is Spark of Creativity. This is a 1 red sorcery. Choose target creature. Exile the top card of your library. You may have Spark of Creativity deal damage to that creature equal to the card's mana cost. If you don't, you may play that card until the end of turn. Don't play this. Not in any of your limited decks. Do not touch this card. You can never guarantee anything. And if you exile, let's say that you've played your land for turn, and you cast this, and you exile a land. Well, you can't play that land anymore. You've lost a land drop now, and you're behind on that in that regard. If you need to draw that next land next turn, you exile, your bomb. You're like, oh shoot, I don't want to waste my, a 6-drop Gearhulk on this, dude. This is not a good card to be using. This is probably some more constructed applications, or maybe standard perhaps, but limited. Stay away from this one. Don't put it in your decks. Bad. Next one we got Speedway Fanatic. 1 in a red, 2/1 human pilot with haste. Whenever it cruises a vehicle, that vehicle gains haste until the end of turn. Sweet. It's a bear with upside, and even more upside when you've got bigger artifacts for it to jump into and just, vroom. 2.25 for me. Bears with upside are always good. Awesome card. Next one we got is Spireside Infiltrator. 2 in a red human rogue, 3/2, that whenever it becomes tapped, it deals 1 damage to each opponent. So this is a little bit better than the black one that's only a 1/1 for 1. At least this guy can trade and rumble in some cases. And just being able to deal damage consistently is actually pretty good. So I like this guy a lot. 2.25 for me. It's a decent hill giant. Or Grey Ogre, whichever of the two it is. All right, moving right along, we've got Spontaneous Artist. 3 in a red for a 3/3 human rogue. When it enters the battlefield, you get 1 energy, and you can pay 1 energy to give a target creature haste until the end of turn. Not a bad little return rate here. A decent little vanilla creature with a bit of upside. Solid little creature here. So I gave this guy, oh shoot, where'd he go? 2.25. A lot of red cards just getting, very run-of-the-mill average scores out of this set, I think. Next one we have is Start Your Engines. 3 and a red sorcery to give artifact or vehicles you control become artifact creatures until the end of turn, and giving your creatures +2/+0 until the end of turn. So you basically get to, without crewing your vehicles, make them sentient in a sense, maybe like Transformers or something, and just turn it all sideways and go for the kill. As close to a one-sided Wrath as I can imagine if you've got some decent combat abilities going on, maybe some Menace or some First Strike. For the most part, though, I'm not a big fan of this card. Just a 2.25. Sorcery speed, combat tricks like this typically aren't super great in limited. Next one we have is Territorial Gorger. 3 in a red gremlin. It's a 2/2 with trample, and whenever you gain 1 or more energy, it gets +2/+2 till the end of turn. So it only gains 1 for every instance of energy being granted. Now, if you can cast multiple spells in a turn that grant you energy with each cast, then you get to stack up more triggers of this guy. So he gets a little bit bigger. It just takes some effort to do so. So he gets to be a 4/4 a lot of times with trample, and that's not terrible. But as it stands, just a 4-mana 2/2, and sometimes if you can't guarantee an energy grant, he's not super powerful. So 2.25 with some upside, but nothing great either. Next one we have is Terror of the Fairgrounds. This is a 3 in a red 5/2 gremlin. Another 2.25. Like I said, a lot of these red cards, just kind of really run-of-the-mill average in my opinion. He's going to trade down a lot of times, unfortunately. It's really easy to just put a guy with 2 power in front of this guy and just chump it. I can't see this thing ever really carrying a lot of weight, and for 4 mana, I think you can do a lot better. But as a curve filler, I can see it being decent at least, but I'm not going to be super excited to play this guy in any of my decks. And our last 3 red cards here, we have Thriving Grub, the next card in our Thriving cycle. It's a 1 red gremlin. It's a 2/1 that gets you get 2 energy whenever you enter the battlefield, and you may pay 2 to put +1/+1 counter on it. Another 2.25. Nothing fancy about it, but just clean, solid, good creatures. Next one we have is Wayward Giant, 4 red, 4/5 with Menace. Again, nothing fancy. Decent combat ability. It's going to trade up a lot of times. Having 1 more point of toughness makes it a little bit better in combat than a lot of other creatures going to be rumbling with, and it's going to survive a little bit more often too, I think. So 2.5-ish. If there's a mid-grade between 2.25 and 2.5, it's somewhere in there. And our last red card is Welding Sparks. This is a 2 red instant that deals X damage to target creature, where X is 3 plus the number of artifacts you control. So it's a little bit worse than a Lightning Strike, but you're guaranteed that 3 damage, and any number of artifacts you control on top of that allow you to bring down much bigger creatures. Not being able to go to the face is kind of a bummer, but Wizards is really showing us that they're trying to move away from burn spells that just go straight to the face, or a creature making it much more versatile. They want it just to be based solely on creature damage, which is kind of a downside. But for this card, I still like it. 2.25 again, just because you've got to be able to build around this one, and there might be just something that's too big for it to deal with. And it really depends on the number of artifacts you control as well. But fortunately, we're an artifact set, so it doesn't matter all that much. So that does it for the red cards. I hope you guys are all really enjoying this and getting something out of this, and are finding some ideas for drafting around and playing in your sealed events and your pre-releases. So let me know in the comments what you guys think about the set so far. Let me know your favorite cards. What card you're most looking forward to opening? Is there some just bomb mythic that you can't wait to play with at the pre-release? Let me know in the comments. Definitely go back and check out all the previous set reviews we've done so far for the white, the blue, and the black cards. We'll be wrapping up the set review here this weekend, so be on the lookout for all of that. Also, be on the lookout for new episodes every week of the EOT Newsflash over on MTGCast.com. Find us on Facebook and Twitter and Twitch. And as always, thanks for watching, guys, and we'll see you guys next time.